Hi, I'm so excited to be back with doing my show. It was brilliant being in New Zealand snowboarding. The snow was amazing and I got to do some fun turns, but it's also nice to be back. I couldn't wait to get back and to restart the Morning Mindset show. So today's series is about shame and living beyond shame and breaking free from the shackles of shame. So this is the first time you're joining me. Welcome to Morning Mindset. This is week 2 of our series on making broken beautiful. Living life by your own design rather than existing by default. And this series is all about living intentionally. So life beyond shame, like what is shame? You must know that shame has a lot of negative power. It's a cruel and punishing emotion, and it's designed just to keep us in line, to keep us in our place, to tell us that we're unworthy, unimportant, and not good enough. And that can keep you stuck in unhealthy and destructive behaviors and prevent you from living living honestly and really, and for moving on with your life. So it will keep you stuck, but breaking free from those chains of shame is possible, but it takes effort and it takes courage. And if you want to live a life beyond shame, you need to learn how to first forgive yourself and move on from your past mistakes so that you can discover new ways of thinking and behaving and being in a more productive way. We can find compassion and understanding from others and build more meaningful relationships when we do. But before you can do any of that, you need to understand the power of shame and how to overcome it. And I believe that we all know what it feels like to be ashamed of something, whether that's our appearance, of our actions, our words, or even our status. I know that was definitely me. Being ashamed of who I was and where I came from was a huge problem. And that kept me stuck for a long time in a cycle of self-judgment and self-depreciation and negativity. And that prevented me from living authentically. And so today I want to explore the different ways shame can paralyze us. And in this mini training, offer some solutions for moving beyond it. So ask yourself if you've ever felt ashamed or embarrassed of something. Maybe you've made a mistake at work or said something stupid in front of your friends, or maybe even caught a glimpse of yourself in the mirror and didn't like what you saw. Or maybe you've even done something that you consider to be really bad, like cheat on a test. I did that once. And it was the only one I got wrong, funnily enough. Or maybe you've cheated on your partner or you've hurt someone you love somehow. And how did that make you feel? Ashamed, right? So most of us have experienced some sort of shame at some point in our lives. And it's incredibly painful. And, people poke fun at you and say things and call you names. And you have to either try and ignore that or live with that, or you've got to understand what that's doing to your psyche, what you're experiencing because of it. And did you know that shame is often described as a self-conscious emotion? And that means that when we feel shame, we're very aware of ourselves and our actions in a negative way. And we see ourselves then as falling short somehow, or not measuring up to our own standards of others. It's a bit like that feeling of guilt, right? That's another really common emotion. Though shame is different from guilt. And the difference being that guilt is feeling bad about something we've done. And shame is feeling bad about who we are. So they're very different, but they're both very common emotions and they keep you stuck. So shame, I know I deal a lot with this in my practice. And it was something I dealt with a lot when I was learning to get past all the stuff that was keeping me from feeling like I was nothing. So if you're tuning in from somewhere around the world, wherever you're tuning in from, I'd love you to say hi. Place that in the comments. So if you want to, sorry, what was I going to say then before that? Shame is difficult to deal with because it makes you want to hide away and avoid people. And like I said before, it makes you feel like you're not good enough and feel like you don't deserve love and respect. I know this is exactly how I felt being a member of my family, growing up in a lower socioeconomic and poverty-driven environment. And my mother was dreadfully embarrassing. She was always filthy. She rarely washed. She was completely uneducated, chain smoked, and swore at everyone for everything. And to make matters worse, she sent us kids out on a daily basis to go and beg and scrounge for foods and fags and money. And the neighbors hated us. And I had so much shame around all of that. And that really can keep you feeling less. And the humiliation I suffered was insane. And interestingly, while I tried to be different, like I washed in cold water because we didn't have hot water, and I wore clean clothes that I'd scrubbed and dried myself and put them on damp sometimes, and I tried to be helpful and I had great manners, everyone else around me on that estate ridiculed me for that. And they called me all sorts of names. They tried to keep me down. They tried to keep me as I was. They told me that I thought I was somebody and walking around because I put books on my head and tried to walk posh like I'd seen them do on the television. But, I refused to let their ignorance get me down. And I was determined, even as a little girl, to do better, be better, and have more, because I'd seen other people have that. But unless you actually work on your shame that you have right now, because it's such a powerful emotion, the negative impact it will have on your life is huge. It will keep you stuck in that cycle of self-judgment and not feeling good enough. But I want you to know that it doesn't have to. And that's why I've created all these mini trainings, so that you can learn that and see that. So shame can show up as, like I said before, being ashamed of your appearance. Maybe you think you're too small, too short, too fat, too thin, too old, too whatever. It's always too something. Or you might be ashamed of your actions. You've done something you're not proud of, or ashamed of your words. Maybe you said something that you now regret. Maybe you're ashamed of your thoughts. Maybe you have a negative thoughts of shame, including blaming yourself for being a victim of sexual or physical or emotional abuse. I know I've helped several clients, and one client in particular who was struggling losing her weight. She was keeping herself overweight, unconsciously, of course, and keeping herself looking a mess, because she would have thought, and again, all of this is unconscious, that if she was overweight and didn't look attractive, that she couldn't be hurt. And she blamed herself for being a pretty little thing as a young girl. Now, she didn't even know that she was struggling with that until obviously we worked that out. So there are many ways that shame can show itself. Like you can replay embarrassing moments or interactions or mistakes over and over and over again, and then obsess about it in your mind. I know I used to do that all the time. I wished I hadn't said something or hadn't done something. But I soon learned that it's actually pointless, because you can't worry enough or get upset about it enough to change anything. So you have to understand why you said what you did, why you did what you did, and how you reacted, and then choose to change it next time. There's a quote that says something about do all your worrying, if you're at the gambling tables, do all your worrying before the roulette wheel starts turning, and then forget about it. So think about the ways that shame is impacting your life. Maybe it's showing up as anger or with self-blame or even addictions. And obviously there's like tons of ways it can show up. So know how shame or being ashamed is showing up and becoming a problem and causing you not to have a full life the way that you would really like it to. Because I know it does cause people to bury their heads and disappear and do anything to pull out of real connections with other people. I used to worry all the time that people would find out that my family, who my family were, and that we were really poor. Actually, we were worse than poor, and that I was a complete fraud for trying to do something better. And that's something else I struggled with a long time, is about feeling like I'm a fraud because of where I come from. Like, who am I to be doing this, and this? Again, so all these examples that I've given you, and there's tons more, but they're just a few. They can illustrate how shame can prevent you from living honestly and happily. And it keeps you stuck, like I said, in that cycle of self-doubt and negativity. So I've created like an 8-step solution so that you can overcome shame and move on with your life. And one is to acknowledge your feelings. It's important to acknowledge your feelings of shame and recognizing how you feel ashamed. And that's the first step to moving beyond it, rather than trying to push it away and ignore it, right? Allow yourself to feel that full range of your emotions, including the shame, and understand what it's doing and how it's impacting you. And get some help with a therapist, actually, to do this, all right? That's a better way of doing it, because they can guide you through that. So then the second step is then to identify the source of your shame. Okay, once you've acknowledged your feelings, it's time to Identify the source of your shame. What are you ashamed of? Is it something you did, something you said, something you thought or felt? I know my source of my shame was my family growing up like I was. It was just a terrible place. And, everyone avoided Fortress Estate that because it was the state not to go anywhere near. Anyway, that's another story too. But so just identify the source of your shame. So the third step then is to challenge your thoughts and your self-talk, because shame is often fueled by negative thinking. We beat ourselves up with thoughts like, I'm not good enough, I'll never be able to change, I don't deserve happiness, or like I did, I'm a fraud for wanting to change, who am I to try and have all these nice things and everything like that. So start to challenge those thoughts and asking yourself, where's the evidence for that? Is it really true? And what would I say to a friend in this situation? So when I was doing that for myself, I looked at all the people around me, that famous people that had come from poverty like I had, and they still allowed themselves to be famous and do the job and feel happy, that they loved and feel happy. So, if they could do it, why couldn't I? So challenge that. The other thing to do is challenge your beliefs about yourself, and that's step 4. So once you know the source, it's time to challenge the beliefs that you have. Are you really as bad as you think you are? Are you really not good enough? Because the chances are that beliefs you have about yourself are based on insecurity and self-doubt. But I want you to know, that you are good enough, okay? And step 5 is to talk to someone you trust about that. Challenge those beliefs, talk to someone you trust, and get them to help you understand and accept that you can feel better about yourself. Because shame, and this is step 6, it thrives in silence, right? The more you keep that shame to yourself, the more power it has over you. So I want you to speak up. I want you to talk to that trusted friend or family member about what you're going through, and write about it in a journal, and see a therapist if you want to go that far as well, and take it to the whole next level and crush it, because it will destroy you and it will stop you being happy. So the 7th step then is practice self-compassion, treating yourself with kindness and understanding. I know it can be difficult when you're feeling shame and ashamed, and there's a difference in those two as well. But it's important to remember that you're not your mistakes, right? You're not the sum total of your flaws. You're a worthy and beautiful human being, deserving of love and respect. And trust me, I know how hard that is to really appreciate that and to understand that, but it's true. And telling somebody who's been there and done that. And so the last step then is 8, and that's to take action. Once you've talked to that person that you trust, it's time to take action. So I want you to ask yourself, what do you need to do to move beyond your shame, right? What do you need to do to make a change in your life? Maybe you need to leave that job that's been making you completely unhappy, but you've been there because you're too frightened. Like, if I don't have this job, how am I going to pay my bills and all that sort of stuff? Or maybe it's that unhealthy relationship. Okay, I know I stayed stuck for 25 years because I was too scared of being by myself. So whatever it is, take some action. It might mean working on yourself, learning to love and accept yourself exactly as you are. So that no matter what, moving beyond shame requires courage, but I promise you it's worth it. I've built an incredible life for myself, and it hasn't been easy. And I've failed more times than I've succeeded. But I no longer wanted to be controlled by shame, and I don't want you to be controlled by shame either. I want you to be free to live your life like I lived my life. I'd just come back from a fantastic holiday in New Zealand, and I take risks and I make mistakes, but I'm true to myself now. And I want you to be true to yourself without that fear. And whatever it is, take action when you feel better. And that will help you feel better about yourself and your situation. And do things that make you happy. Challenge yourself. So if you have tips for overcoming shame, then you've done that and you've worked through this process, I would love you to share them with me, and maybe share them in the comments below. So that's it for me today. I want you to remember that shame may be a powerful emotion, but you're stronger than it is. You can find the courage to break free from its grip and move on and create a brighter future for yourself if you put your mind to it. You can do the hard things, you can overcome your shame, and you can live your best life. And I want you to ask yourself what you need to do to take that first step right now, right today, and share that with me. I would love to be with you on your journey. And do it because you deserve it. You deserve to live a life beyond shame, right? You're worth it. And I'll leave you with a quote I read yesterday. Is something, I might not get this exactly right, but it's something about, I will succeed because the fire inside of me is greater than the fire around me. Okay, that's it for me today. There's a worksheet to go with this training. And if you would like a copy of that, You can get that by sending, I have a thing here, there it is on the screen, by requesting, send an email to team@resetyourlife.space and they will send that to you. So thank you as always. Tomorrow we will be addressing life without fear. And I want to thank you for being here. I truly appreciate you. I'm super grateful for your time, as I always am. And if you found this helpful, motivating, I would love for you to leave some feedback in the group. And if you want to help others change their lives for the better too, you can do that by sharing these mini trainings with those you know who benefit. And if you want to keep up to date with the latest trainings, be sure to join my online community and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And my greatest wish, as always, is for you to be Mindfit, so you can live your best life and live it with passion. Reset, be authentic, and be you. Bye for now. Good morning, good morning. I was waiting for the comments. Good morning, Mark Sullivan from YouTube. Hope you're feeling better today. Robert Davies, bonjour for France. Oh, bonjour, Robert. Comment allez-vous? Thank you for joining. High Tech Mother, my favorite coach is back. Woohoo! Thank you, High Tech Mother. Joining from YouTube too. And August, how are you from LinkedIn? And look at you, despite all of that, you turned out to be a diamond. Oh, I love you, August. You're awesome. High Tech Mother, true tigress of your own making. Thank you, High Tech Mother. I really want to meet you one day. Mark Sullivan says, people shame you to make them feel bigger and keep you down. That's absolutely true. They do. They don't know anything else. And High Tech Mother says, yeehaw, sometimes it becomes our coping mechanism, keeping ourselves unattractive. Oh, not yeehaw. Yeah. August says, shame can truly damage our confidence. It really, really does. So it's really important to actually work on it. And that's all today. Thank you so much for being here and for joining me. Take care. And I will see you on Friday.